This is a presentation on the social, policy, and environmental impacts of offsite working and online education. What we will be covering in the presentation is a review of the research, the methods we've used, the review of environments, the review of current results, both the social policy impacts and environmental impacts, and also sharing our references with you. So the research project was a grant awarded under the Ashford University Fellows Program, and it focuses on research gaps in the area of environmental impact reporting for offsite working. And because we work for an online educational institution, this led to an interest in the social and environmental impacts of online education due to the similarities. So specifically for the social impact methods, it's a secondary data review with qualitative analysis of existing research by myself, Dr. Alden, and also looking at policy and external research. And the analysis was done with NVivo 10. So a review of the environments. There was a commonality in the two environments in which the foundational aspects that allowed for offsite working also supported online education. First, technology convergence provides the logistics for greater access and mobility for remote working, sharing, and communicating, allowing for environments where work teams can be geographically scattered. These same technology advances allow for distance education to evolve into a more robust, rigorous, and pseudo-synchronous environment than ever before. Second, wider use of social network communication channels allows for workers and students to be more adept at remote communication and relationship building, allowing for offsite working and online distance education to be far more successful and collaborative than ever before. This will likely continue, and it is suggested in the literature that as children become more social network adept, it is even more possible for online distance education to be successful earlier in the education life cycle. Third, in recent years, there has been a greater focus on the financial aspects of relocation, especially in the US. For institutions and workers, the need for unique skills can be more easily fulfilled with less focus on local proximity. Certainly in the current real estate market, workers are less able to relocate and less willing due to accommodating the career and much needed second income of a partner and/or accommodating child and elder caregiving needs. This can be especially helpful in the employment of disabled veterans who can be limited to live local to Veterans Health Services. Along with the added benefits of access to more skilled workers on a national scale, there is a significant body of literature which supports that such employee accommodations lead to greater engagement and productivity. For online educators, there is a significant benefit to national versus local access only for students. And most importantly, the virtual environment allows for students to pursue an education with little financial or logistical disruption or hardship. So the sustainability impacts. This research embraces the latest definitions of sustainability. That is, not just looking at eco-environmental concerns, but also the sustainability of citizens and the communities in which they dwell, and the impact that institutions and their policies can have on their communities on a local, national, and global scale. First, the social impacts. For online students and remotely located workers, as mentioned, it allows for less impact on financial resources. But it also allows for access to greater educational and labor market opportunities than their local area can provide. This can not only support the citizens in the local area, but can also have a knock-on effect of long-term for the community, which benefits from the greater knowledge, skill, and financial stability of its citizens. Second, the flexibility of off-site working options in online education allow for uniquely challenged groups to access employment and education. Groups such as caregivers, younger and older workers, and the differentially abled, including veterans. Next, in the online education realm, it allows for non-traditional and more mature students to overcome their challenged early education histories and achieve a university degree at a time when life experience will allow them to succeed better. The flexibility supports their efforts when this greater maturity often comes with home and work commitments. Last, these types of policies and the access they allow can often address long-term societal social inequalities and barriers within the community itself or for an area based upon its geographical location and lack of proximity to metropolitan areas. The environmental impacts will be covered in a moment by Dr. Salhorst. Changing perspectives is a key aspect of embracing policy and programs which support positive social and environmental impact. In the education realm, the social and environmental impacts are clear, but there is still a general lack of acceptance of online higher education being as valuable as on ground. In the institutional realm, it is understanding the work can be performed in new ways, and for this project, we are mainly focused on off-site options, such as remote working, fully off-site, and compressed work weeks, such as 4 days, 10 hours a day. With this is a need for a sophisticated understanding that workers can be managed based on outputs and greater autonomy, not on presenteeism and micromanagement. There is also a greater importance on communication in these environments where disconnects in understanding can happen and workers can become isolated. This last unique point can be a challenge in online education environments as well. Where there are current opportunities, there is a growing body of research on viewing corporate social responsibility from a social impact view as well as a philanthropic view. This allows for the embracing of sustainability policies in institutions. It is known that greater access to quality employment options and educational development comes greater positive social and financial impact for individuals and communities. For institutions, there is a greater access to skilled labor through national recruitment as opposed to very limited local recruitment. And last, for the environment, generally and in local communities, there are bound to be positive impacts when there is a greater focus on conservation and limiting carbon emission impacts.
In addition to the social implications of off-site work, we've also looked at the environmental impacts. Currently, we're focusing on transportation emissions, utilizing secondary data from the EPA, the U.S. Department of Transportation, Oak Ridge National Laboratory, and the National Automobile Dealers Association. The next few slides I'm going to run through pretty quickly, so if you'd like to look more in depth at each graph, you can go ahead and pause the presentation. But we looked at a number of different types of automobile classifications as well as a large range of automobiles within each classification. So we're looking at non-EV plug-in hybrid cars, as well as the low fuel efficiency and high fuel efficiency automobiles within each classification. We're also looking at EV plug-in hybrid cars, non-EV plug-in hybrid light trucks, which includes SUVs and also minivans, and finally EV plug-in hybrid light trucks. Work transportation, basically mileage for commuting over time has increased slightly, but as you can see in the United States in 2011, private vehicle use in order to get to and from work was basically the primary means of transportation, with over 86% of people using private vehicles to commute to and from work. Most of that, over 76%, were individuals who were the sole operator of the vehicle, compared to just 5% of individuals using public transportation, and an even smaller percentage, just around 4.2%, were working from home. This shows the potential here to really cut environmental costs associated with transportation fees of driving to and from work by shifting even slightly from people driving private vehicles either to public transportation, and more importantly to a greater percentage of individuals working from home. Using the data from the Transportation Energy Data Book, we see that over time, basically the length from home to work has increased. In 2009, the average one-way commute is at 12.2 miles, and this is the value that we used for most of our calculations. Additionally, for a round trip then, we used 24.4 mile distance. As far as yearly commute distance, the average annual commute was 5,513 miles. Again, this is just solely for work purposes, and that attributed basically all travel mileage in an automobile. 28% of that was strictly for work purposes. Due to this amount of travel, daily fuel use just for traveling to and from work ranged from just over 0.2 gallons per day to over 1.7 gallons per day, depending on the type of vehicle. And you can see in the chart that there's a pretty broad range whether or not you're driving a hybrid car versus whether or not you're driving a non-hybrid truck. Annual fuel usage ranges from just over 49 gallons per year to as much as over 550 gallons per year, again based on the vehicle type being driven. Based on these other factors, the emission rates were calculated for a number of various pollutants. We looked at VOC, total hydrocarbons, carbon monoxide, NOx, particulate matters, and maybe most importantly, carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide emissions for cars showed to be around 368 grams per every mile and over 8,800 grams per gallon of gasoline. Similarly, for trucks, we had just over 8,800 grams per gallon of gasoline. However, the per mile amount of pollutant being put off was a lot more than in the cars because of the decreased gas mileage for the light truck vehicles. Using these numbers, then, we were able to calculate the actual emissions in each of these for each of these 7 pollutant areas for a work commute, both daily and over the course of a year, for an average sized car and an average sized light truck. The values range, again, depending on whether or not you're driving an EV plug-in hybrid or non-hybrid, and obviously whether or not it's a truck or a car. You can see the large range of variation in pollutants over time. And again, I would urge you to pause the video at this point and you can peruse the data in more depth. Data showed that off-site work could prove to be an effective global climate change mitigation strategy through the reduction of annual CO2 emissions by an average of over 1,800 kilograms for an automobile and 2,600 kilograms for a light truck. This is a really significant number, especially in the realm of the light truck, in that this equates to almost as much CO2 that's being emitted through all electricity use for a single individual in a year. These are average numbers as well, so if we're looking at a hybrid or the very small high mile per gallon cars, these numbers will be slightly lower than the ones we see here. In the same realm, if you're looking at the lower, more common kind of light truck type of vehicles, these numbers can be significantly higher, as was shown in the last table. Additionally, environmental savings can be seen from maintenance, and that wasn't discussed in this study. That's something that we're looking into currently and working on calculating, but especially through the use of less oil and less tires. So that can add to the environmental benefits of working from home, and also scrappage. So if you're driving a lot less per year, 500 or 5,500 miles less per year if you're not driving to and from work, the cars are going to last longer. You're going to need to produce less of them, and you will have less of them going to the scrapyard. Also, you have major economic benefits from the reduction in fuel use, from the reduction in wear and tear on the automobiles, and that too will be discussed at a later time in our future work. Not considered in this study, as mentioned before, electrical and electric equipment, heating and cooling, and lighting use. Obviously, if you're going to be working from home, you're probably going to be using more of this lighting and heating and cooling and electrical over time. However, based on the results we've seen, it is very highly unlikely that the increased use of these 3 factors will even come close to offsetting the emissions that are caused through transportation. Here's the references utilized for the study. And should you have any questions regarding anything you've heard in the presentation, you can feel free to contact myself, Dr. Adam Selhorst, at the email address below, or Dr. Elaine Alden anytime, and we'll try to get back to you as soon as possible.